What's up, y'all? It's me, it's your boy Asmongold, and today we're going to be doing a real talk video. Just going to be me and you, and we're going to be talking about a number of different things in this video, but I think they're all going to be centered around the main question, which is, should game developers, Blizzard in this video, should they listen to player feedback? Now, I've got a lot to say in this video, so I'm not going to worry about how long it's going to be. I'm just going to tell you guys what I need to tell you guys. Before we really get into this, I do want to say two things. For one, I've been doing a lot of these real talk videos. Why is that? Two reasons. For one, there have been a lot of things that I just feel like I need to tell you guys about, talk to you guys about, etc. And also, another thing is there hasn't really been a lot of game content that I haven't shown you guys already. And so if you guys really, I know a lot of people really like to see the real talk videos. Some people like to see the guide videos. If you guys want to see more of these, let me know. If you want to see more guide videos, let me know. Either way, let me know. The second thing is, like, usually whenever I do these, I think of like a lot of different, I guess, like jokes throughout the video that I can, I guess, like say, like whenever I'm thinking of like, like what I'll talk about in the video, I think of like jokes or whatever. I really don't have a lot of those for this video. I just want to really kind of, as I said, real talk with you guys about how I feel about this stuff, and without really a whole lot of distractions. And that's really what I gotta say. Now, the reason I'm making this video is I think it was today, well, it would be yesterday whenever I put this video up. Polygon released an interview with Blizzard, and pretty much in that interview, Blizzard confirmed that there's not going to be any flying in patch 6.2. Also, there probably is not going to be any flying in the rest of Warlords of Draenor, and there might not even be any flying in future expansions. And so a lot of people really were upset about this. Some people were happy. I think really it's about 50-50. There are a lot of people who probably don't care at all. I'm kind of one of those people. I know there are some reasons that I do like flying, some reasons I don't. I don't really want to say one way or another. I know people have been like very dogmatic about this. So anyway, and I want to tell you guys kind of like the evolution of my thought process with flying. Now, in Wards of Draenor beta, I thought that flying, not having flying was a very good thing, and the reason for that is it would allow people to explore and do more things, and I think that that would be more of the case, except for garrisons, who are just very lucrative, and so because they're so lucrative, there isn't really a lot of reason to leave your garrison and go out in the world, and I think that that's that's really shitty, and one of the reasons that people would go out and leave the world in Mists of Pandaria were to do like Warbringers, to farm rares, and to do a lot of other different things. And so there's a lot to be said for having those outdoor incentives, and I think not having those outdoor incentives is actually the reason why not having flying is as bad as it is. I think if they had the outdoor incentives and more of them, not having flying would be, not a lot of people would notice it. I think that in Timeless Isle and Mists of Pandaria, a lot of people like that, including myself. I really like that place, and it didn't have flying, but there was always something to do, somewhere to go. It's not like people were just sitting at like the vendors, just waiting for, I don't know, like Hulan to spawn. I know some people were, but there were a lot of people who were out like farming frogs, farming the different rares for the achievements, etc. And so there's a lot of these different like little cool things for people to do. And so in order to make not having flying, like worthwhile, you have to make it worthwhile for people to not fly somewhere else, and and use their ground mount instead. And I don't really think that they did that in Wards of Draenor, which is kind of a big problem. Now, I do kind of want to talk about, I was going to talk about this later in the video, but I think I'm going to talk about it now, which is like kind of the like a different forum mentality. And so like with any big game, Counter-Strike, League of Legends, World of Warcraft, any game that's been around for a while or has a very large player base, there are a lot of different websites that kind of facilitate discussion among that player base. And so with World of Warcraft, you've got like YouTube, you've got Wowhead, you've got MMO Champion, you've got the general forums, and probably a couple of other places that I just probably don't go to. And each one of those different, like Reddit, for example, each one of those different forums and places, they all have a different kind of different. I wouldn't really say like hive mind, but a generally accepted opinion. And so people on YouTube, I would say, in almost all of my videos that I've made, that other people, not just myself, but other people have made against flying, people have been very positively. They've been very accepting of that, and I'd say most people on YouTube who make videos and also who comment on videos on YouTube are very like anti-flying, or not more. They're more anti-flying than they are positive, just by what I've seen. I mean, I'm on YouTube every day, and so I kind of have at least like kind of an idea about this. I don't have any statistics in front of me, but that's just the way it seems. If you go over to like the general forums on like the official Warcraft forums, not liking flying is like asking to get downvoted. And I also want to say something about the general forums too. because I don't really hear this being brought up a lot. But having like this downvote function and the general forums, if you guys don't know, it's just basically the general discussion forums and also just related forums on the actual like Battle.net website. And I think one of the worst things that's happened in those forums is that they've added an upvote and downvote system. And what's really bad about that is that not only if you get enough downvotes is it's harder for people to read what you're trying to say, but also if you get so many of them, it will actually bury your post, and so you actually have to click another button to even read what that person is saying. And I think that the idea, basically what that comes down to is community censorship, and I don't really think that having that community censorship encourages, I guess, like more like positive and productive discussion. I think more it silences it more than it helps it. And I really wish that Blizzard would kind of get rid of that upvote and downvote system. And on websites like MMO Champion and on YouTube for, I guess, in a way, not because they don't have a downvote, they can only upvote on YouTube. I think that not having that downvote system kind of gives people a lot bigger like way, because people don't want to. I know it sounds stupid, guys, but there are a lot of people who feel like they don't want to put out a negative opinion or opinion that will be disliked by, I guess, like the hive mind of whatever forum they're posting on, because they don't want to get downvoted, even though it's not like it matters, right? It doesn't matter. But a lot of people just don't want to have that happen, and so as I said before, I just really think that the upvote downvote system is very bad. Honestly, it's just very bad for real discussion to happen, because you can like effectively silence somebody if enough people disagree with them, and I don't really think that's a very good thing, especially because each one of these forum communities is not really a lot of people. It's not like this is like it's like you take like the entire game player base, and then you take the entire game player base who discusses the game online, and then you take each different online place of discussion, and you've got a very small amount of people. So these people do not necessarily represent the player base, they just represent themselves. And so being able to kind of silence these certain opinions is not necessarily like an overall positive or negative thing, and like kind of reflective of I guess like how most people feel. It's just people who feel that way in that community. And so I did kind of want to say that, because I think that that the forums that have done that, I think have turned out, it's definitely been a bad thing. On Reddit is kind of based around upvotes and downvotes, and so I think that that's kind of a positive thing, because there's less of a hive mind on a lot of like the Warcraft subreddits. It doesn't really seem like there's as bad of a hive mind as there is on like like the general discussion forum. But still, a lot of times, like having those upvotes and downvote systems, does encourage people to not produce unpopular opinions, because not just because an opinion is popular, just because an opinion is unpopular, or just because it is popular, doesn't mean that it's wrong or right. And so there's a lot of bad things that can happen from having that, I guess, like the self-censorship, and then on top of that, the community censorship too. And so really for me personally, I was kind of expecting that they would bring back flying in 6.2, and the reason for that is just as kind of like, okay, this is a new thing. We've had no flying, and now we're going to add flying. It's just to kind of keep it new, to keep it fresh, etc. And I'm actually kind of surprised that they're not adding it. And I will honestly admit, I'm kind of disappointed at the fact that, the idea that I won't be able to fly in the new zones. And I think that the one expansion that really facilitated this the best, flying the best, is Wrath of the Lich King. And if you guys don't remember, you were able to get flying at level 77. And so you would be able to do Sholazar Basin, Borean Tundra, Dragonblight, Grizzly Hills, Howling Fjord, and Zuldrak. You didn't really need a flying mount to do any of those zones at all. And then once you got up to 77, which is whenever you pretty much would finish up maybe Sholazar Basin or Zuldrak, then you go to Storm Peaks. And Storm Peaks is like, these snowy mountains, you've got like proto-drakes flying everywhere. And so you're flying, so you're able to get your flying mount then, and you're able to fly from mountaintop to mountaintop doing these quests for like the dwarves, the iron or the, I think they're the iron dwarves, something like that. And to stop like the Maker's engine with like the Titans that was like corrupted by Yogg-Saron, and like a lot of crazy stuff like that. And so it made a lot of sense to have flying mounts. And finally, after you finish doing all that, then you go over to Icecrown, which is like the domain of the Lich King, and you've got to be flying around. And there's like frost worms, and like so you've got to have that flying mount, or you're just not going to be able to go over all those different such a, I guess, like such a rugged and I don't know what would the word be for that. a very unforgiving terrain, and so you needed the flying mount because you just couldn't get anywhere without it. So I think that in Wrath of the Lich King, flying mounts were definitely that was the best way that you could handle them, and in Wintergrasp you weren't able to use them. And so yeah, I would really like to see flying mounts come back in some sort of fashion like that. And once you get to max level, and what I would really like to see in Warlords of Draenor, honestly, in terms of like player feedback, since the video is about that, is I would like to see something where if you killed every rare, if you collected every treasure, if you explored every zone, and if you did every quest, you would have like a meta achievement, and it would say no life or something like that, and it would have you get a book, you learn the book, and you can fly your mount around, and so that way people have for sure experienced all the stuff that Blizzard wanted them to experience on the ground, and now they're done with that because they obviously have the achievement to say they're done with that, so now they can fly around. That's what I'd like to see personally, but sorry, I don't know if we'll see that, and apparently you probably won't. So that's a little bit disappointing, but honestly, guys, I think that flying is just a minor feature in the game, and positive or negative, I don't really think that it's played any real big part in making people want to play or not want to play. And there's always like a group effort here. It's like, why do people not leave their garrisons? Well, yeah, it would be easier to get somewhere with flying, but well, why would you even go? And so it's like, is the problem not enough outdoor content, or is the problem no flying? And really, like with a lot of these things, you can't really separate the two, and they're very interrelated. And so honestly, guys, I would say like my three main problems with this expansion, just number one, I really think is garrisons. Number two is I guess like the lack of like a main character. Like you can't really have one character and not raid and never run out of like content to progress your character on. Like you're kind of gonna like hit a wall really early, and so a player that doesn't raid really has no other choice but to create alts, and I personally don't really like to do that. I like to just play my warrior and occasionally play some alts, do a couple of things on them, but mostly just play my warrior. And whenever I run out of content to do on my warrior, it's always kind of like, fuck, like what am I going to do now? Maybe I can do something stupid on my hunter or whatever. And so not having like real like casual player progression, and I've said this before, but I'll say it again, casuals are the backbone of this game. It is not the hardcore players. Like we are very small, 5 to 10%, and like the 80% or like 50%, a large amount of people are not hardcore players. And so having an experience that that huge percentage of people can't really get into or can't really experience because it's locked behind it's very hard to like really get into a guild. And I'm gonna actually, I wasn't even planning on talking about this. I'm gonna talk about this just real quick. The problem I think that the Cross Realm Group Finder has made is it's very hard to actually like progress with a guild, because the only time that you really need to use a guild is to go into mythic mode. And so you do like normal BRF or like LFR BRF, and then you do normal BRF, and then you do heroic BRF, and you can do all this stuff with just a group finder. You don't have to find a guild or anything like that. And then you finally get up to mythic difficulty, and you have to finally find a guild or create a guild or build a guild with people. And it's like you never really get a chance to like kind of like take your first steps as a guild. It's just you're immediately right there into the fire. And there's not really a lot of incentives to create and work with a guild. One thing I'd like to see, again, we're talking about player feedback, is some sort of a buff that people would get. Like, let's say if you're in like a guild group for BRF, you get like 30, or honestly, like if it was me, like 50% more loot. Like if it's like 50% more personal loot, 50% more people get loot, 50% more loot drops from the boss. Just something that's going to really incentivize guild play, because the social aspect of this game is really what kind of keeps people playing after they run out of content to do. People have always run out of content, even in vanilla and in Burning Crusade, because different things kind of made it to where they couldn't, I guess, like move to the next step. But because they had the friends, they were able to wait till the next patch or something like that. But now, since there's not really as many social experiences that are being facilitated through the game, it's hard for people to make those connections. I think that's a really bad thing. And the third thing, I think that really this has something to do with it, and I've talked about this like a million times, is we have 4 different difficulties of the same content, and I think that that's really just too many. I mean, you've got like LFR, normal mode, heroic, and mythic, and all the way up, like heroic, like LFR, normal, and heroic are really all the same thing. It's just higher numbers. And so people were just kind of repeating the same content, and once they get to like one difficulty of the treadmill, they finally finish that treadmill, they're just back down to the same fucking treadmill, and they're going, you know, just a little bit faster. And then whenever Mythic, it's like you're not going on a treadmill, you're trying to go up like a fucking wall. Like, so is like, unless you know how to climb up a wall, you know, like in terms of like raiding with a guild and dealing with these mechanics and everything else like that, you're probably going to have a lot of problems. And so, you know, having that really big ramp up between like heroic and mythic, I think has been very bad in terms of getting players into, I guess, like taking those first steps into raiding, because there's just that big wall of mythic and it makes it a lot harder. And that's like kind of an order. I think garrisons really, everything that like kind of has to do with garrisons. So like, you know, professions being gutted, having the buildings. You know, I don't really care about the raid gear missions. I just don't care. I don't really think gear matters. Gear is not really the point. It's like how you get the gear and like what the gear itself isn't really the reward. It's like kind of like what it takes to get the gear. And so I don't really care about the like Blackrock Foundry or the Hellfire Citadel missions. I don't really think they matter. But you know, like all those different follower missions and everything like that, I don't really think garrisons are like really probably the biggest problem in the expansion. And then also the lack of single player, you know, like real content, replayable content. And honestly, guys, like one thing with player feedback, and just I have to take a drink. Oh shit, I've been talking for a long time. Probably gonna be a long video. So one thing that really has to do with player feedback is that, and developers need to know, is that players are always going to want more convenience. Is more convenience always better? No. I think that personally, convenience will be the death of WoW. And I know that this is like, that's like kind of a ridiculous thing to say, but I think that it's really like kind of everything that has to do with the convenience and, you know, just like the mentality that has to go with it. And I think that, you know, developers should really be very careful, especially Blizzard, be very careful with creating so many convenient features that they actually invalidate and make what really made the game special for people 10 years ago. They make those experiences obsolete. And you know, definitely developers should be very, very wary. And I think that Warcraft has created so many different convenient things that players are not really willing to take the extra step or do the extra thing anymore, because you never really have had to. Most things have been given to you with really not really too much effort whatsoever. And the things that actually do take a lot of effort are mind-numbingly dull, and they don't provide any rewards. So like the reputations and wards of Draenor, all of them provide basically no type of reward. No type of reward. Like you get a special mount for some of them. You get a tabard, and there's not really any gear that you can get, and there's like no real worthwhile reputations. Also in the Polygon article, the interview, apparently there's going to be some new reputations added in 6.2. I'm very excited to see what those are going to be, and hopefully they have some really worthwhile rewards. I don't know what they're going to be yet though. So that's a big thing, is that making sure that the game is not really too convenient. And so really, like, should developers, I want to get back to like the main question, should developers listen to player feedback? Well, of course they should listen to player feedback, but not all player feedback. Not all player feedback is created equal. Some people who have been playing the game a lot longer might have a different, I guess, like like a way of looking at it, that it's going to be better, that maybe the developers would want to hear from them. Maybe they'd also, and also it's not just from one type of people. It's not like just people, you should only listen to people who've been playing the game for 8 years or 9 years or 10 years. You also, really important, should be listening to the people who've been playing the game for 6 weeks, who've been playing the game for 3 weeks. You know, how do they feel? What do they, you know, like what do they really want out of the game? What are they getting out of it? And, you know, just to see kind of how that experience evolves. And I think that's really something that's important. And so, yeah, of course, game developers should listen to players, but not always. Sometimes it's good to do what's better for the game, and not what's better for, you know, not what's, as I said before, more convenient for the player. I think that was the original way that I was looking at flying. It seemed to be, as I said before, you know, there's like that thing with garrisons, and like, you know, there's not really a lot of stuff to do, and so you're not going out to do it, but maybe you would do it if there was flying mounts, you know, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so it's hard to really say, but I don't really think flying has a real big, it's not like flying has made people stop playing WoW, or it's really made them start playing. Not having flying in WoD has made them start playing, or anything like that. And the next thing is that this kind of has to do with player feedback in a way, is Warcraft has kind of gone under this thing and had this problem where they've up until Cataclysm, like in going into Mist, this became more and more of a problem. Is Warcraft has kind of catered to a larger and larger and tried to appeal to a larger and larger audience, to where at this point there are people who are like 95-year-old grandmothers who play the game, and also like 13-year-old kids. And I think that whenever you have that large of an audience, and we're seeing this happen right now, this isn't really just my opinion, is that you have so big of an audience and so diverse of an audience that any decision that you'll make in the game is going to piss off like just a huge amount of people. And so if they didn't add flying back, they're making hundreds of people, hundreds of thousands of people mad. If they did add flying back, they're also going to make hundreds of thousands of people mad. And so there's like no real way that you can win. And up until Mists of Pandaria, I felt that they kind of focused mostly on, I guess, like their core audience, which is like kind of people who like to raid, people who played a lot, et cetera, et cetera. And then in Mists of Pandaria, they kind of, and I guess this has to do with like the art style, just like kind of more of a lighthearted game, just trying to attract a more casual and diverse audience with the Mists of Pandaria. And I understand that there were some very dark elements in the expansion, but overall it was more of a lighthearted expansion, you know, with like kind of the jokes and everything else like that with the panda people. And in doing that, they've kind of created an audience that is not the same core audience that actually plays the game a lot. Now, while that might not really be a bad thing, it's something that they should know. There have always been casual players, and as I said, casual players are kind of the backbone of this game. Without casual players, we wouldn't really have a game. And so it's very important to make sure that you create a game of a fulfilling casual player experience. But whenever you do that, you can't just give people everything. I don't really think that, in short, socialism is not really a very good way to run a video game, especially in MMO. I really don't think that that's a very good way to handle it. And so one big problem with this is that people have wanted Mythic difficulty for a long time, and so you know, like Mythic is only 20 players. I'm just going to give one example here. Mythic is only a 20-player difficulty, and so if you're one of the like hardcore raiders, like having a 20-player difficulty, like a solid 20-player difficulty, not 19, not 21, you know, just 20 players is very good for you because it's very tightly tuned fights. You know, things are very hard, and so you can try really hard, and you know, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But then there are tons of other people who used to raid 10 mans or maybe 25 mans, and you know, they're just not able to meet that exact 20-man you know, thing. And so most of it's 10-man guilds that have fallen apart because of this, because they're not really able to scale up to the 20-man requirement. And really, I mean, fixed raid sizes have always been a thing. It's not like this is anything new with Warlords of Draenor. I mean, like in Mists of Pandaria, it was 25-man or 10-man. It's not like you could have like 11 people in the 10-man, right? But either way, there were two options, and now there's only one. And so, you know, having the only one, I actually prefer to have only one difficulty of the absolute like hardest difficulty. I think there really can only be one. And you know, even in Mists of Pandaria, 25-man was really viewed as the more difficult and harder, like the world first kills were in 25-man and not 10-man. And I think that actually somebody killed something on 10-man world first, and they didn't even really talk about that. They only talked about the 25-man kill because, of course, it just requires a lot more coordination and everything else like that. But you know, point being that obviously, you know, you have such a big audience, and you know, you can't really make everybody happy. And so at this point, if they do anything, they're going to make a lot of people unhappy. You know, I personally think that like having the you know, the LFR thing, I think that they need to replace that with like an entry level dungeon, like Nax 10 or something like that, and not having it be like kind of a theme ride within the game. I think that it should be player driven and not game driven. And so if they ever did that, that would piss off a ton of people. And you know, having the LFR pisses off a lot of people too. And so it's like it doesn't matter like what the real thing is. It's just gonna, I don't know. I think that you guys kind of get the point, which is obviously whenever you have so many different people, so many hands in a cookie jar, in a way, you know, there's no real way to make everybody happy. And really, I think that the main thing that I want to talk about before I really give like, I guess like my main piece of feedback with the game is like, I don't really know what the best way to give feedback for like any game, like especially with Warcraft. It seems like sometimes they listen to feedback. I've made a couple of suggestions. Like I remember I put in a suggestion that you could get like the old PvP gear, like the level 60 Grand Marshal gear with RBG rating, and they actually implemented that after I put in that suggestion. Are they unrelated? Nah, probably, but you know, it's still kind of cool, and maybe I did have a good idea there that they did implement. Other stuff, I really don't know. I don't really know how to actually get, Blizzard to listen to not necessarily me, but to have some sort of a way to communicate with them. It seems like communication is very difficult to have, especially now since they communicate mostly through Twitter and not really the forums. And I think that also has something to do with the upvote and downvote thing, and it makes it a little bit harder for them to do that because like people who are very critical of the game right now get a lot of upvotes, and so like everybody's looking at that, and so people want to post negative things about the game so they can get more upvotes, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so I really wish that I knew, a way that I could kind of get my opinions out there, and not really, as I said, not just mine, but some sort of way that I could, put my opinions in like a sea of other opinions, and hopefully at least some of mine would float. But anyway, I don't know what that is. I tell you guys all the time, like tweet Blizzard, make forum threads, do whatever you can, and that's really what I do too. I just make videos too, and hopefully occasionally somebody has an idea that they tell Blizzard and maybe they listen. I don't know, probably not, honestly, but that would be. I just wish that there was a more direct channel for feedback, honestly. And so anyway, I do kind of want to say like my main, I guess like bit of feedback for Warcraft right now, which is I think that the main thing is that the sense of reward is really kind of gone, and there's a lot of different reasons for that. And I was talking to somebody about this the other day, and I said that like it never really was about having Thunder Fury. It was never really about having Invincible. And whenever I was a kid and I was playing this game, I started playing the game, I would go around, and if I saw somebody with Thunder Fury, I would actually take a screenshot of that character, and that's how cool I thought it was that they had this legendary weapon. And the same with Invincible too. And I would always really, really be into that. And I wonder how many people really did that with the Mists of Pandaria legendary cloak. Probably not a lot. And a lot of the sense of reward I think has been removed from the game at the expense of convenience and accessibility. Is that really the right decision? I personally don't think so. I think that Blizzard really should look, and they're the only ones that have the data for this. They should look at how many young people are picking up and playing the game. I feel that like having the aging demographic that Warcraft has and not appealing to that younger audience is a very bad thing. And because the aging demographic, people age out of a game. What happens whenever after you're aging, you die. Okay, and so you obviously, Blizzard doesn't want their game to die. Nobody really wants their game to die, and so whenever you're catering to this aging audience, you run the risk of having people, because like you can't really always keep people engaged in the game. It doesn't matter how many convenience functions you add. Some people just don't have time to play the game in general, or just lose interest. And I think that back in Vanilla and in Burning Crusade, a lot of the people who make videos now about Warcraft, and also just people who are, I guess, like raiders now, they have been playing the game for a very long time, and I wonder how many of the kids today actually come in and start playing this game, because like kids do come in and play the game. It's just like what gets them to really stay, and I think like that sense of accomplishment and that sense of reward that like I had like whenever I got my first epic item and everything like that, that was really worth something to me, and I don't really see that same experience facilitated throughout the game. And I think that giving a kid like that sense of accomplishment and everything like that, that's what keeps somebody playing a game for 10 years. It's not about like really the content. It's not really about, and I said this before, it's not really about like the raid boss. It's who you kill the raid boss with. And like not having that really kind of makes the game a lot more bland, and it doesn't have like the same soul that it used to have with like the camaraderie and everything like that. It was never really having Invincible. Like having Invincible now, it's just like you've got the horse, great, it looks cool, etc. But like back then, it was like the idea of having Invincible, and I hope you guys understand what I'm saying here. It's that not only did you get into this really, really great raiding guild, and you've gone through ICC, and you've defeated everything up, and you've stood at the Frozen Throne, and you've defeated Arthas Menethil, the biggest badass in Warcraft since Warcraft 3. Guy's been causing trouble for 10 years or whatever. He's finally going to be down, and not only did you kill Arthas Menethil, not only did you kill him on heroic, but you also got his legendary horse, and it's like everything that means. It's not really the item itself. It's like you don't like win a Super Bowl for the ring. You have the ring for the Super Bowl or for any sort of a championship or anything like that. You have it for what it means, not for the actual item itself. And I think that that gear and even seeing the Lich King itself and the mounts and all that stuff is that's the real trophies, and it's not. You can't just give people the gear and expect them to get that same sense of satisfaction and happiness out of it. That the same people who like spent hours and hours and hours working at something to get it, it's like you're not going to really congratulate a kid for graduating 5th grade, but if he's graduating out of like an Ivy League school, you're going to give him a pat on the back because it's a lot harder to do. And I think that's really what it comes down to. Is you have to give the younger people who are playing this game facilitate. This is the most important thing, really, is facilitate that same experience that I had, that other people had that are my age now. Older people. I mean, I'm not old, obviously, but like people who started playing Warcraft in vanilla. What experience? Blizzard needs to look. What experience keeps people playing for 10 years and keeps people playing nonstop or off and on, or gets their friends to play with them. I've gotten like 20 people that start playing WoW. Like almost all my real life friends play WoW, and I was like me and like my other friend Zach. We were the first two, and out of us, like we got like 20 other people to play this game. And what gets people to do that? What really does that? And I really wish Blizzard would engage with people and find that out, because I think that's the real that is like the what's the word, the well of eternity in a way of these types of games. That's what will keep the game alive. That's what will keep it going, keep people playing, because there's always going to be content droughts. But whenever you've got the experience that you have with your friends, the content drought is worth it. And so hopefully you guys understand. I hope you guys enjoyed. That was a long video. I hope that everything I guess made sense. And it's like I'm not really happy or sad about the flying thing. I'm surprised, honestly, and I really hope to see flying in future expansions, though, depending on what they are. That's really pretty much all I've got. I hope you guys enjoyed. So thanks for watching, and like, comment, subscribe.